YouTube model railroader fans, it's Ray, and it happens to be, I do this all the time, this Monday, December 17th, 2018, I think this is like vlog 14, I should have looked this up before I did this, give me a second. I always do this too, but that's okay. Why did I do it that way? It would have been easier just to do it this way. Oh, come on. We're up to vlog 16. Believe it or not. This isn't entirely going to be a vlog. It's more or less going to be a vlog and a how'd he do that. Something that I've been talking about for a long time, actually probably ever since I started these things, was the Athearn tune-up kit. What is the Athearn tune-up kit? Well, in a nutshell, the Athearn Locomotive tune-up kit is basically replacing the bent spring metal thing that goes from the top of the motor to the truck posts, replacing that with something that's a little bit more solid and a little bit better of a connection. Obviously, that will help with the running. I now have quite a few of these Athearn locomotives, and it's something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and I just never really got down here to do it. Well, and I'm sorry for the light if it's blinding people. I don't have my hat on, sorry. I have my hat. Maybe that would be better. There we go. Now it's not shining off my forehead. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. The Athearn tune-up kit. Basically going ahead and, like I said, replacing that piece of spring metal that goes between the two trucks and the top of the motor with a better connection, because that connection has a tendency to oxidize. It doesn't work it works great for the most part, but there's a better way to do it. Now, what is that better way to do it? Well, it really depends on who you talk to. And, of course, just like everything else in life, you ask a question and you'll probably get 50 different answers. So, this is going to be my take on how to do it. What you need first, and what I found was, and of course, believe it or not, but I had to go to an auto parts store to find these, because unfortunately we don't have any electrical or electronic places that deal with this kind of stuff anymore. The one place we did have went out of business, and they tore down the building, and now it's a Sonic. So, I guess nobody plays with CB radios anymore and things of that nature. I used to play with CBs years ago. I still have mine floating around here somewhere. It's not hooked up anymore, but at any rate, how do you do it? Well, first thing you need to do is you need to go out and get a set of these wonderful angle connectors. And these are a little bit hard to see because of my big fat fingers here. But what this is it's a 16 wire gauge crimping connection, but instead of it being like a normal connection, and of course I put those away, show and tell time, because that's what we do. And believe it or not, I was actually going to try this, but it didn't work, so that's the reason why I went with the angles. These are your normal crimp connector. This is a female 16 wire gauge crimp connector. You got your female end here, and the wire goes in. The wire goes in this side, obviously, and then you crimp it. No big deal, right? So that way you can, and I'll show you what's going to happen here in a little bit. But basically, you just slide this onto the truck end. Well, because it's not angled, it's going to roll up against the shell. And even if you try to bend this to a 90, it doesn't work either. You could probably get away with it, but I was afraid there wouldn't be enough room between the top of the truck and the interior of the shell. So somebody else had done these before, so I went ahead and found these doodads, these angled connectors, which they weren't that expensive. I think it was like $5 for the package of 10, which means you can do 5 locomotives with these things before you have to go buy more. The funny thing of it is when I was there at the auto place, it happened to be AutoZone. When I happened to be there, that was the only package that they had, and I was like, how soon are you guys going to get these back in? And he's like, well, we'll have them Thursday. Do you want, I can have them here tomorrow. I'm like, no, it's not that big of a deal. So I'll probably, when I get a chance, maybe over the holiday, I'll go back up there and snag a few more. Because I've got plenty of Athearn locomotives sitting over here on the shelf, and more of them sitting on the layout, so... and if anybody's familiar with the newer ones, they actually did decide to go to something similar to that, except for the fact that they soldered the connections on top of the truck, that it's a piece of flexible wire. Well, if you have to do any type of maintenance on a thing where you have to take it apart, you have to desolder the darn thing. I wanted something that if I wanted to take it apart, I could take it apart and not mess things up too bad. So anyway, let's get into this. Yeah. I've made myself a makeshift holder here because one of the things that we have to do, and this happens to be the frame from the conglomeration, that BL2 GP9 that I'm working on. So one of the things we're going to do here is we're going to get rid of this piece of spring metal. Now, what you could do if you really wanted to, and I'm not going to go this direction, you could actually probably cut this down a little bit and solder to this and have it pop off. That would work too, but I'm not going to go that route. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. Anyway, I was talking about these angle connectors, and once I have the wire, these will just slip onto the angle here, and there's enough clearance there to where it's not going to hit the gear or anything like that. And if you need to work on the truck, it's a little snug, but you just pull the wire back off and you're good to go. You can go ahead and pull the truck off and do whatever you need. So, how are you going to solder the wire that's going to go from this doodad to the motor? Well, obviously you do not want to solder on the motor. This is plastic here, and any type of heat is going to ruin the motor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece of metal off very carefully, because there is a spring underneath it here for the, and you can see it sticking up. That's the spring for the brush. Obviously you do not want to lose that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our wonderful piece of metal that came off the top, and we're going to stick it in here, so that way we don't burn our fingers. Now, I went out and went to Home Depot and actually bought some 16 gauge wire specifically for this project, of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my wire strippers here, and I'm going to take a little off the end here. And this is stranded wire. You don't want to use solid for obvious reasons, because it has to be able to move, it has to be able to bend. So our next thing here is to, and of course we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of rosin flux on here, and then we're going to also take, and I'm going to take a little bit of this off, I'm going to stick it right on our piece of metal. I'll let that hang for the moment because I need my solder, and I'm using a 30-aught or a dot 30 rosin core solder, because you do not want to use acid core solder for obvious reasons again. And I just put this tip on here, so it probably needs to be tinned. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of solder. There we go. And then, what we can also do, of course this would have been a good time to have not just one, but two of these nice little hoojamajiggers, but we can make it work. Provided, of course, I don't tie myself up in the process. what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to put a little bit of solder on the wire. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the wire and we have a nice shiny connection there, which means we've got a pretty good connection. So that's one side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut a little bit of this off, obviously, because I don't need all of that. Probably should have cut a little bit longer, but that's okay. Actually, it'll be fine. Go ahead and twist the end a little bit. Go ahead and slide that into the connector. Pull out the crimping tool. And give it a good crimp. That's not going anywhere. Lovely. Hopefully this isn't too stiff. If it is, I'm in trouble. Alright, that's one side. Let's go ahead and hit the other side. Go ahead and pull out the rosin flux again. Put a little bit of flux there. A little bit of flux there. Oh, I love the smell of solder in the evening. Go ahead and just like we did on the other side. This one here I'm going to cut a little longer because, just because. Alright, let's go ahead and strip that wire back. Get ourselves another connector. There's our crimping tool. And there we go. There's the finished product. So now we should be able to clip this back on the locomotive. Not quite sure if I can put this someplace where you all can, or maybe I can. Hey, look at that. At least see what I'm doing. Oh, there it is. So we go ahead and we clip it over the back. Push down the front. And then slide that one. right one. Work with the wire here a little bit and get it to get into position. Make sure that everything is still functions, which it appears it does. Let's take it over to layout and see what we get. For obvious reasons, I'm going to run this on, and sorry for the shakiness, the 15-inch radius here, because it's the tightest radius I have. And if it'll run on this, which it didn't, it didn't like that. Didn't like the corner. I think I'm going to have to, sorry I'm not catching this. Maybe if I, whoops, sorry. Sorry. Maybe if I do it this way. Yeah, I didn't put enough wire, I don't think, or I've got this a little too tight. Let's see if I can fix that a little bit and see if I can get it to where it'll turn. I was kind of afraid of that, but I may have made that first one a little too tight. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Of course, it's helpful if I actually have it on the track to start off with. Yeah, that one wire is a little too tight. Oh well. Alright, I'll admit, I goofed. I need to add some wire to that. The one side, actually probably both sides would be better if it had a loop in it to kind of take up some of the strain, but hey, for my first attempt at this, and who knows, these two connectors might work well on one of the other locomotives where the wheelbase is a little bit longer. Okay, so that was, like I said, that was a little bit of a goof, but hey, I proved the point. It'll work. I just have to modify it slightly. Well, you all know the deal. You wait for the highball. Green tracks ahead. There'll probably be more on this in the future, but you all have a Merry Christmas. We'll catch you next time. Be safe. God bless. See ya.